Welcome to the Not Old Better Show Good Housekeeping interview series on radio and podcast. The show covering all things health, wellness, culture, kitchen, cooking, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Now here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
What do you really know about the products you use every day? At Good Housekeeping, it's not guesswork, it's science. In this special interview series, we sit down with the experts behind the lab doors, the scientists, the analysts, the pros who test everything from sneakers to saucepans. These aren't ads, just so you know. These are facts backed by 100 years of trusted testing. Welcome to the brand new Not Old Better Show Good Housekeeping interview series where smarter living starts with knowing more. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and today's episode is about sparking flames. Yep, not just on the grill, but in your imagination, your backyard, and around your dinner table. Now, I know we've all been there, charcoal or gas, smoky or sweet, traditional or techie. These aren't just cooking choices, they're practically lifestyle statements. And who better to help us navigate this deliciously smoking terrain than today's wonderful guest, Nicole Papantoniou, the innovative and insightful director of Good Housekeeping's Kitchen Appliances and Innovation Lab. Nicole's culinary journey spans rigorous product testing. We're going to talk about that. Nicole has this really impressive nutritional expertise and the artistry of recipe creation. Nicole knows what it takes to master the grill, and believe me, she's tested them all, from classic charcoal beauties to cutting-edge, smart grills that practically grill your steak for you. Today, Nicole Papantoniou will share insights into the sizzling trends shaping our cookouts. Think live fire cooking, eco-friendly grilling, and even pizza ovens that promise restaurant-quality pies right in your backyard. This is just going to be a fascinating episode for everybody, whether you're an adventurous grill master or someone who's been sticking to burgers and hot dogs. This episode will inspire you to embrace the grilling renaissance with confidence, curiosity, and just the right amount of spice. So grab your apron, pull up your favorite lawn chair, settle in. Let's fire things up with Nicole Papantoniou from Good Housekeeping. Nicole Papantoniou. I love that name. Welcome to the program. It's so exciting to talk to you about Good Housekeeping and all your wonderful work.
Same here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So you have this recent headline in Good Housekeeping magazine, I test grills for a living. Here's what I really think about the big green egg. We won't jump into the big green egg necessarily right this second, but with your extensive background in cooking and culinary and all things grills, which I found an awful lot by you on that subject. What's changed since you first began doing this? Let's kind of start with a framing question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I started at Good Housekeeping 6 years ago, and I've been cooking professionally since 2013. That's when I graduated culinary school. So always have been around grilling and cooking. When I started testing grills, we focused on gas grills. And I think a big thing was grills that have really high BTUs. That's what you want. And even my predecessors had kind of tried to demystify that and debunk that in the sense that, like, just because it's powerful doesn't mean it's good. And now grills actually have even more power, but there's more ways of controlling it. And there's also more use of technology in terms of controlling the temperature. So I think the biggest thing is just making things easier for the consumer and the griller, and also more affordable, which is really nice.
Yeah, well, that's helpful. Thank you. So that really kind of brings us current. So when we talk about this debate between charcoal versus gas and kind of flavor,
Mhm.
in terms of making it simple for the consumer, how do we make it more flavorful?
It's a great question, and something that I actually kept seeing a lot when I started my research, that charcoal is more flavorful. And I
Okay.
think the difference really is in, like, how good is the cook and the person who's actually grilling it, because a
Yeah.
lot of times things just taste burnt, and that be like across the board even keeled,
Yeah.
but it's true when you grill things and smoke things at a really low temperature for a long time, that's when you're infusing more flavor. So something like Big Green Egg, you do see a really big difference in flavor that's harder to achieve on gas. And sometimes with gas, like if you're turning it up really high, you might actually get that propane taste. Most people aren't really in tune to that, but those are the kind of things I look for. Um, like those deeper flavors.
I like to grill. We do that a fair bit. We're certainly not in your league by any stretch, but it's great to learn about this. And what I found in my research in anticipation of our conversation is that, my gosh, there's Bluetooth grills, there's Wi-Fi grills, there's all of this new experience. How does that affect the artistry of being a chef and of
Right.
really?
So sometimes I will say it almost is more complicated if you're already having trouble trying to figure out how things connect. Your grill does have to be pretty close to your router in most cases to make sure you do have that Wi-Fi connection. So that can be a pain point. I think the best grills are the ones that can do it both, like manually or connected to your phone. But when you are able to connect to that app, there are these great features where it can actually let you know when your food is almost cooked by using the internal probes that it comes with. And that way you can walk away if something is happening. Or with a pellet grill, for example, they'll alert you when the pellets are low. And that's really important when you're cooking something, let's say, for 12 hours and honestly are going to bed or leaving for the day. At least you have a heads up of like what's happening in your grill. So it definitely can be beneficial.
For those of us in our audience, many in the 60 plus community, um, we kind of like to go with the tried and true. And maybe some of the new technology is daunting and baffling. Are they really trying to make it easier, or are they just adding features to add features?
No, I do think when you have a digital control, and some of them are powered by battery actually, so you don't even have to worry about plugging them in, you see the temperature of the grill big and easy to see. And then again, you can set up those probes directly to your grill. So this way, even your grill itself will set an alarm and let you know this is almost done cooking. So those are the little details that make it easier. That is probably for the more advanced cook that's really in tune with like making food cooked to the perfect temperature. But that does help. And there's actually even some technology that'll let you know how full your tank is. And to me, that's a game changer because there's so many times you're like, is it me? Is it the tank? Why isn't this working? And it's just this other little reminder of check-in, maintenance, troubleshooting capability.
You're listening to the Not Old Better Show, and we're grilling up a fantastic conversation today with Good Housekeeping's own Nicole Papantoniou. Coming up, we'll dive even deeper into the sizzling world of grilling trends, smart technology, live fire cooking, and delicious ideas you won't want to miss. Stay right here. We've got much more ahead to help you elevate your outdoor cooking game right after this. If you're like me, you've trusted Good Housekeeping for years. The recipes, the reviews, the real-life advice that makes your home smarter, healthier, and, well, happier. But now Good Housekeeping has taken it to the next level with GH+, a powerful membership designed just for people who love trusted information and want more of it faster. With GH+, you'll get unlimited digital access to every article, recipe, and lab-tested product review on goodhousekeeping.com. You'll also receive the iconic Good Housekeeping magazine delivered right to your door for an entire year. You'll also get exclusive recipes straight from the legendary Good Housekeeping Test Kitchen, member-only newsletters, discounts, and direct access to the experts at the Good Housekeeping Institute. This is more than a subscription. It's your invitation to join a trusted community that values quality, curiosity, and everyday excellence. Head to goodhousekeeping.com/GH+ and sign up today. Your kitchen, your home, and your peace of mind will thank you. We'll have links to all of this in our show notes today, so please check it out. That's goodhousekeeping.com/GH+. Nicole Papantoniou is our guest today. Nicole is the Kitchen Appliances Lab Director at Good Housekeeping Institute, works at Good Housekeeping Magazine. We found lots of great articles by Nicole. We will have links in our show notes today so that our audience can find out more about Nicole, all of her fascinating work about all of the kitchen appliances. We're talking about grilling today in anticipation of summer. I wouldn't necessarily, consider myself a novice, but plenty are. I certainly am no expert, as I say. But I noticed in my research that there's a return to open fire cooking. That seems like the perfect place to begin if you're just starting. What kind of tips would you give us if we're just beginning to use an open fire method?
I think the biggest thing is really to like be easy on yourself and like, give yourself time to experiment. I probably wouldn't bust out a new open fire grill when you're having guests over for the first time. I feel like
Okay.
I would play around a little bit with your fire. I remember growing up, my family would use like lighter fluid to start it, and I would personally avoid that. There's chimney starters out there that help you actually light your coals and make them even. And it just makes it so much easier to get your grill going. And then in terms of open fire, it's if we're talking about wood, also it's really just like playing around with it and experimenting. And the idea of indirect cooking is really important and useful to know, where that's basically stacking one side of the grill with your fuel and the other side with none. So this way you could have your open flame to sear, and then you can move it over to the other side to finish gently cooking or even smoke.
This world of grilling has really, kind of come full circle. Yet the innovations are certainly there. You see them all the time. One has to do with the idea of eco-friendly grilling. This notion of sustainability is one that we're seeing an awful lot in many areas with regard to appliances and especially cooking now. What kinds of things are you seeing in your work that really lend themselves nicely to this idea of
Yeah.
eco-grilling and cooking?
It's always a hard word for me, especially here at the Institute. When we hear things like that, we're always like, is this true? Is it
Yeah.
marketing? What does it
Yeah.
actually mean? The biggest thing about sustainability for me is investing in a product that'll last you a long time so you don't have to keep replacing it. So, a lot of the charcoal grills, especially, or the Kamado style grills, like they break green egg, these high quality grills will last for a long time. So, that's the biggest thing that I look for. There's also gas grills out there that'll last 20 years, but um, if you take care of your grill, that's really important. And then there are, of course, different fuel types that people talk about, but I just haven't done enough research to be able to like recommend exactly what is the best one. But it does make my antenna go up a little bit to just make sure it's actually eco-friendly. Because what does that actually mean?
Yeah, well, I mentioned at the top of the program our interview with the kind of your work on the big green egg. That's a substantial grill. It reminds me almost of a cast iron skillet, and in terms of its longevity, that's got to be right up there.
Yeah, and that's actually exactly what I had written in the article. We're talking about these big investment pieces and they're
Yeah.
heavy duty. And as long as you take care of it well, it will last you a long time. There aren't many automatic parts. Most of them are just mechanical and they are less likely to break when it's not so automated, basically.
Again, Nicole Papantoniou is our guest today from Good Housekeeping Institute. We're talking about grills and grilling in anticipation of a great summer series. We will have plenty of links in our show notes today so that you can find out more about Nicole and her great work at Good Housekeeping. It is really just a kind of a new world order in terms of um, options and food types. And we hear a lot about, kind of plant-based barbecue options. Describe those to us and maybe tell us a couple of things that you've found about plant-based barbecue options.
So when I talk to vegetarians or people who are more plant forward, a lot of them really focus on the vegetables and the beans and getting their proteins from other sources. But a lot of times people like to splurge for barbecues when they're with like at parties, or they want to not even fit in, but like almost the same way that we have a hot dog on occasion or during the summer, it's the same thing. So there are plant-based options out there that are made with good ingredients, and do give you that very meaty taste. I actually know people who are vegetarians, and some of the tastes are almost too meaty for them because they're not even used to eating them. So there are definitely good options out there in plant-based world, and you can treat them the way you would your regular hamburgers or hot dogs in buns with all the toppings and really enjoy them if you're looking to basically splurge or try something different.
Take us behind the scenes, if you will. So many in our audience will be familiar with Good Housekeeping and probably even the Good Housekeeping Institute, but maybe give us kind of an insider's look as to how the testing actually works. What is it that you're, kind of thinking about, the criteria that you use, and, just a kind of some personal rankings.
So in the Good Housekeeping Institute, our team is made up of scientists, product experts, analysts, writers, and we all work together to test these products in a methodical way and also thinking about the home consumer. So one thing that's really important to me is to make sure that our tests almost mimic what someone is going to be using that appliance for at home. So when it comes to grilling, especially the gas grills are the easiest to control the variables the most because something like charcoal, one might light while the other doesn't, or who spreads them out in the grill, what's the shape of the grill. So there's a little less we can control in the charcoal world compared to gas.
Hmm.
But we're basically looking for heat distribution. So how evenly does that grill heat? And we do that by laying bread across the entire grate and trying to identify those hot spots.
Wow.
Um, and I've even learned too that even like when pellet grill companies are testing their grills, they'll do something similar with biscuits. So how evenly each of the biscuits rise on all parts of the grill. And those hot marks and spots are important for the user to know about because if you basically lay out your entire grill with all these chicken thighs and some of them burn and some of them don't, that's not ideal. So
Mm.
that's where that's really important. And then the other test we do is with steak. So does the grill produce really nice char marks? Is it easy to clean? Are there flare ups? How quickly does it cook? Is it juicy? Do you have that like gas taste that I was talking to you about before? So depending on how good that steak comes out in response to those tests, that's another test. And then we also do a slower cook with we used to do chicken in the past and I've changed it actually to chicken thighs. And one thing is like how can we continue to repeat these tests in an easy way? So chicken thighs are easier to cook than entire chicken. We shop at the same store, so they're usually the same size. And then we're looking for that golden brown color, that smoky flavor, again, the flare ups. How easy does the grill clean up overall? And then, of course, like we're also looking at all these ease of use features and maybe things that people don't even think about. But shelves are going to make your life easier. Tool holders are going to make it easier. How many wheels something has, that's going to make your bring it to your garage, to your patio much easier. How to access the tank, how to access like the grease stranger system. Those are all things that we evaluate when it comes to grill specifically.
Really, I'm just so impressed. This is just a wonderful conversation to have with you. I especially value the culinary experience that you have and that you bring to this because that really adds an interest. You're not just testing grills, you're really kind of looking at the quality of the meat too, which I heard you just kind of refer to. You really
Yeah.
did your schoolwork, did your culinary schoolwork and cooking school give you a sense about grilling too?
Oh, well, I guess not grilling
Uh-huh.
specifically,
Yeah.
more the idea of, like, searing, and I guess cooking over an open flame because sometimes there'll be grills, like, in, like, a restaurant setting, but I love to share how our team like, we all just love to eat, and it really
Yeah.
excites us. What's most important, and my biggest thing is, even though we're testing appliances, if someone doesn't know how to use that appliance, that's not gonna help them, so I'd rather get someone a good grill, but then explain to them how to use it, what to do with it best, what they can make on it, because at the end of the day, we're using it to cook on, and why not have a like, delicious experience all the time?
Really, really interesting stuff. So let's wrap up because I know you're very busy and we certainly appreciate all your time. But talk to us about a couple of products that I've started to see a little bit more of. One is griddles, because I
Mhm.
thought that was kind of interesting to see. And then the other is pizza, and a pizza
Oh,
oven
yeah.
kind of outside. Yeah.
You're
So maybe tell us a little bit about both those.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
So, this, about 2 years ago, I go to trade shows every year to, like, see what's new, meet with brands, learn about the latest, and I realized that every single outdoor brand basically had a griddle. And at one point, it was really Blackstone that owned that category. And now everyone has one. They're so fun to cook on. It definitely was a trend that probably took off more during the pandemic and when people were cooking at home. And then once I got my hands on it, like it just makes sense. You're cooking on this really large surface outside, everything cooks evenly. You can get up to these really hot temps. And then it's also, you can cook things that you normally wouldn't cook on a grill. So think of like rice that you could never grill rice on a grill. So you can make your fried rice, your griddle. Bacon is one of the best things I've had on a griddle. And cooking for parties is really fun because you do have this giant surface and can cook probably more than 20 burgers at a time, and they all cook evenly. So they are also now a lot of griddles. They're mostly made out of carbon steel, so you have to take care of the griddle and make sure that you're seasoning it the way you would a carbon steel or cast iron pan. But now some of them even have like ceramic coatings on them. Some of them come pre-seasoned. Some more and more have those shelves, that storage space. So again, they're actually, Traeger, for example, just came out with one that's actually a little bit smaller. So instead of 3-burner, it's 2-burner. So these companies are really trying to think of everyone and make it accessible to everyone. And I think they're doing a really great job. It's a fun tool to cook on.
Yeah, wonderful. And pizza ovens add an interesting kind of twist because it's kind of a social element that they're bringing about.
Absolutely. And again, so almost every brand too is making pizza ovens. There are a few brands that are known for their pizza ovens, and even they have at least 8, like maybe 5 to 8 options just from their brand that you can get. You have your tabletop versions, you have your larger dome size. There's a lot more electric pizza ovens coming to market too, which is interesting. And the electric ones almost make it easier to make pizza because there's no open flame. And it's just really fun. And last summer, I had a lot of fun experimenting with cooking more than just pizza in the pizza oven. So throwing your carbon steel grill pan in there and making roasted veggies, making a fish, making even a steak. It's again, you're all together. People are fascinated by it. People are more willing to help, I find, when we are using the pizza oven. So that's always welcomed.
Nicole, what a joy. It's good to talk to you. I really am excited about having you come back too for us. And I'll tell you this, just selfishly, I'm excited to, come visit you at the lab sometime and try out some of these wonderful grills and some of your cooking, because I know that's going to be special. But thanks so much for your time. So nice to meet you. Of course, Nicole Papantoniou has been our guest. Nicole is the lab director of kitchen appliances at Good Housekeeping Institute. I know we're going to be talking again, Nicole, but thank you so much for being so generous with your time today.
No problem. Thank you. I had fun.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the new Good Housekeeping interview series on the Not Old Better Show. I hope you're feeling inspired and perhaps a little hungry. I definitely am, especially after our flavorful conversation with the wonderful Nicole Papantoniou, Kitchen Appliances Lab Director at Good Housekeeping. Remember, the joy of grilling goes far beyond perfectly charred steaks and grilled veggies. It's about creativity, community, and connection. It's about trying new things, smart grills, eco-friendly practices, or those deliciously surprising plant-based alternatives that Nicole talks about, and sharing the experience with family and friends. Please be sure to check out our episode today, as well as the GH Plus membership opportunities, all of which will be in our show notes today. If today's episode sparked your interest, and I hope it did, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with somebody you know who'll love a bit of grilling inspiration. Visit us online to learn more, connect with our community, discover additional tips and stories to help you live your very best life. Until next time, keep those grills fired up, your imagination sizzling, and remember, it's never too late to cook up something extraordinary. Join us again on the Good Housekeeping interview series on the Not Old Better Show. We will see you next time. Be well, be safe, and let's talk about better.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Not Old Better Show Good Housekeeping interview series on radio and podcast. Good Housekeeping is more than just a magazine. It's a beacon of reliability, offering tested and trusted advice on everything from health and wellness to home improvement and recipes. With their iconic Good Housekeeping seal, you can trust the products and tips they recommend. knowing they've been thoroughly vetted for quality and effectiveness. To find out more about all of today's stories or to view our extensive back catalog of previous shows, simply visit notold-better.com. Join us again next time as we deep dive into some of the most fascinating real-life stories from across the world, all focused on this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Let's Talk Better, the Not Old Better Show Good Housekeeping interview series on radio and podcast.